Welcome to the 10th video in this series making a 2D swarm shooter with C++ and Raylib. In this one, hopefully we're going to get an enemy actually chasing us around the map. So as a starting point for this particular video, what I'd like to do is first of all close this up, and second of all go into the bullet, because I did realise at the end of the last one I never reset the scale. So what we're going to do is make this, I think it was 0.5, we're going to make it actually 0.6f. And then for the speed down here in activate, let's replace the 30s. We have more normal bullets here. So I quickly want to run the application, just double check that the bullets are now looking normal again. Okay, good, they are. They're a little bit bigger than they were before, but I think that's also a little bit better. Okay, so I'll press escape to close that down and close that down. So we're going to, in this video, be making our enemy class. Before we do that, a quick word on what we'll actually have in terms of behaviors. So we're going to have three sort of basic enemies, if you like. These are the enemies that home on the player throughout the map, and they do it in two ways. One of those is going to be literally to actively home like a homing missile on the player. The other one's going to be slightly more basic, but it adds a little bit of variation. Effectively, what they're going to do is walk in a straight line for, say, 2 seconds. We'll pick that at random. And when they run out of time, they'll look at where the player is and then walk in that direction for, say, 2 seconds. When they run out of time, repeat, look where the player is and walk in that direction, and so on. So they do home in on the player, but not quite as targeted as the genuine homing movement. Now, those type of enemies are going to be our enemy class, and that's what we're going to build now. Later on, we're going to have a more complicated one, which is going to be the strafer, or strafer, however you like to say it. What that one's going to do is when it spawns into the map, it's actually going to fly in the direction of the player, and when it gets within a certain distance of the player, it's then basically going to hover and rotate around the player, constantly firing missiles at the player. So a really different behavior to what you have with the other enemies, and it's going to be a different class as well. The one we're going to start with is the enemy. And of the 2 movement options we have available, we'll do this zigzagging one here. Now, enemy class is going to have a sprite and a transform on it and some other things as well. And to get the movement to work correctly, we're going to have to add a property to our sprite, which is going to be a rotation offset. The reason for this is by default movement at 0 degrees rotation is left to right, but the sprites by default for the enemies are facing upwards. So if we have the sprite added like this and we move in the direction we're facing when it first loads, it's actually going to crab to the side like this, which we don't want. So what we'll do is add a rotation offset to our sprite so we can pre-rotate them. And as you'll see, when things are updated and drawn, they'll then walk in the direction that we're actually facing. So back inside our code then, let's open up the sprite.hpp and let's add ourselves below the pivots a rotation offset. Then if we go into the implementation for the sprite and go down to where we're drawing, we can add that rotation offset on top of the existing rotation here. So let's go back into the main.cpp and just check that this is rotated correctly. It should be, but I'd like to give it a check just in case. So when we create the sprite here, we'll give it a rotation offset, and then we'll give it an offset of 90 degrees so it's facing in the right direction. And then with the transform, let's rotate the transform by 180 degrees, and this should make it then look at the player. So I'll press F5 to run the application, and hopefully we have an animated cockroach looking at us. And we do, good. So we've rotated 180 degrees. That's me trying to do it with the mouse, but obviously the mouse is locked. So effectively we've rotated like that, and we were facing in this direction like my player is by default. The sprite was facing upwards. With its rotation offset, it's now facing in the correct direction. So I'll press escape to close that down and close this down as well. So happy with that, we can go ahead now then and create our enemy class. So to do this, on the left-hand side here, we can right-click on source, new file, and enemy.hpp. And I'll right-click new file, and we'll do enemy.cpp for the implementation as well. And immediately at the top here, we can include the enemy.hpp. Let's go to the enemy.hpp then. So we're going to need a transform 2D and a sprite for this one. Then we can sketch out the skeleton of the class. Let's open up the bullet. Oh, there it is, handily, it's open. I'll just close the sprite actually, and the main will leave. Bullet, there we are. So inside, bullet.hpp, we can have an update and a draw. We're going to need those in the enemy, so we can drop those in the public here. And then we'll add a position setter for this as well. Then in the private area, we need, just like for the bullet, a transform and a sprite. So I'll copy that and drop that in here. Now, we'll be adding more into here later on, but for now, let's make sure this is all going to be working. So let's work on the implementation of this. So I'll copy these, go to the enemy.cpp and drop those in here. So we have the prefix of enemy, and we can add in the curly braces. And then going back to the HPP, did I add a constructor in here? No, I'd like to add a constructor as well. And then back into enemy CPP, we can add in the constructor. So to initialize ourselves, it's the code basically we have inside the main here. So we're going to init the sprite. We're going to init with a rotation offset. So I'll drop that in here and then go back to main. We're also going to have the transform. So I'll take these 2 lines here and drop these in here as well. Obviously the names are wrong. This should be sprite, and this should also be sprite. Then we need the resource keys. And here we need transform. And I'm going to put the scale actually to 1.0 now because it was a bit big. And we'll leave the rotation at 180.0 for now. So then we have our setter for the position. So that's going to be our transform.position is equal to position. And then in the update, we're going to update our sprite. And then in the draw, we can draw our sprite. And we need to send into there our transform. Okay, so we're not doing anything yet. We have hard-coded in the rotation here as well, but I'd like to make sure that we can replicate what we already have, this time with an instance of our enemy class. So let's go back into the main.cpp, and then below the bullets, let's make ourselves an enemy. And we can click here and get this imported, and then we'll set the position. So we'll say enemy dot and set position, and we can set it to the position that we have here. Okay, and then the test sprite and transform, we can get rid of those. And let's drop down then into here. So here we can update the enemy, and then down here we can draw the enemy. So now everything should be exactly the same as it is before. It's the difference now is just that we're using an instance of the enemy class rather than the two separate transform and sprite that we had. So let's have a look. Yep, that looks good. And also the size is normal as well. Cool. So I press escape to close that down and close down the terminal. So with that done, let's get to the enemy actually walking forwards to start with, shall we? So the way to do that then, we've got the transform here, and inside the updating the enemy, we can update the enemy's position a little bit like we've done with the bullet. So where are we? We set up here the velocity actually with the direction times the speed. Then inside the update down here, we're updating the position by that velocity multiplied by delta time. Now these operations, one doing this like this, and the other one with the enemy, where we'll be adding to the X and Y of the position of the enemy as it walks, is something we're going to find ourselves doing a lot with the transform 2D. So rather than put the code inside the enemy here, let's go to the transform 2D itself. And at the top here, what we'll do is include raymath, making sure it's below Raylib. And then we'll also include our swarm utils as well. Let's set ourselves a new function here that's called move forward. And that will then take in a distance. Inside here, what we'll do then is we'll increment the current position by the direction, which comes from our utils, send in our rotation to that, and multiply that then by our distance. Whilst we're here, let's add another one this time called translate, which we'll add for the bullet. And we're going to need these later on as well for other things inside the game. So we'll do vector2 here and offset. So translation is literally where you update the position of something in terms of our transform 2D anyway. Moving is where you go usually in the direction that you're facing, which is what we're doing here. So inside the translation, we simply want to do position plus equals to offset. Now if these operations like the plus equals here aren't working, you're getting red lines, it'll be because the raymath has not been included, and please make sure you include it after the raylib. So let's put these new functions to use. The first place we'll go is in the enemy.hpp. And let's give the enemy an arbitrary speed now of, say, 80 pixels per second. Then we can go to the enemy.cpp. And inside the update, before we draw the sprite, let's make sure we update the transform. So we'll do transform dot, and we want to move forward in this case, and that will be our speed multiplied by the delta time. Let's go and find our bullet.cpp. And where we have the position here, we can change that for translate. And inside the brackets, we'll have our velocity multiplied by delta time. So that neatens things up a little bit, and we will find ourselves doing sort of these kinds of operations quite a bit throughout the program. With that done, what should happen now is the cockroach should start walking towards us. So let's run the application. And it is cool, it's walking towards us. And can we shoot bullets? Yes, we can. We've updated the translate there. That's still working as well. The great thing is the enemy is walking towards us. That's pretty nice. So we'll press escape to close that down and close down the terminal. Now let's get the enemy to retarget. The way we're going to do that is, as I've explained, we're going to basically have it walk in a straight line for a random amount of time between a minimum and maximum we'll set, say 2 to 4 seconds. When that time's elapsed, it'll then rotate to face the player, and then we'll get another random time, and it'll carry on walking towards the player and so on. To be able to do this, we need to be able to get a random float value. Now, Raylib comes with a get random value, but that gives us integers. So what we'll do is we'll go into our swarm utils.hpp, and we'll add ourselves a function to get ourselves a random float. So we'll say inline float, random float, and that's going to be between a min and a max. And then we return, and we'll build this up bit by bit so you understand what's going on here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a random value. And you can see that that returns an integer that's built into Raylib. And that will be from 0 to randmax. Now randmax can be platform dependent. Here this value here is around 32,000. What we do now is we turn this value we get back here into a fraction basically from 0 to 1. So we divide that then by randmax. Now of course you'll have spotted here we've got a problem, these are integers. So we need to turn these into floats. So we'll cast this to a float. Then we'll also cast the result that we get back here also to a float. So now we have a float from 0 to randmax included divided by randmax. In other words, we have something from 0 to 1 as a floating point number. So what we can then do is take our minimum and we add onto that then our max minus our minimum multiplied by our 0 to 1 value. And this way then we get something between inclusive our minimum and maximum. And whilst we're here, let's add another utility function into here as well that we're going to need for quite a bit of the movement that we're going to be doing. So to be able to rotate towards something, we're going to want to know the angle in degrees from a from vector to a to vector. So we'll write an inline float, angle to target, and let's call this deg actually for degrees. And then we'll have a vector to from and a vector to. So let's get the delta of this then, and that will be equal then to minus from. Then the angle of this will be a tan 2f, that will be delta y delta x, and we convert that then into degrees. Now, in my experience, when you're new to these things and you see a piece of code like this, things start to get a little bit confusing and you find yourself just copying and pasting it without understanding what it's doing. Now, if you do understand what this code is doing, please by all means skip to the end of this chapter in the video. I've put it there so you don't have to go over something or watch something that you already understand. I can imagine some of you are looking at this and thinking, what in the world has gone on here? And the reason is this expression looks quite complicated when in fact it's relatively straightforward as long as you can remember high school maths. So we start with the to minus the from. So we'll make a from vector here and we'll make then the to, let's say, around here. And what we're doing is subtracting from to. In other words, we're doing to.x minus from.x. That will then give us a positive x here because the to's x is bigger than the from's. And then we're doing to.y minus from.y. which will give us again a positive y going downwards like this. So we have the x here, and we have the y here. And then we can measure the angle of the resulting vector by taking some trigonometry to get this here, which is theta, which is the angle, which is what we're looking for. Now, in terms of pure trigonometry, the tan of that angle theta, which is this one here, is y divided by x. And therefore the angle is what's known as arctan of y over x, or as it's more commonly known when you write it down in high school anyway, tan to the -1 of y over x. When you're programming, what you usually see is atan of y over x, which is more or less what we've got here. So why have we got this atan 2 here? Well, it's to get around a little bit of a problem with positive and negative numbers that you can have with the atan. So if I grab hold of this and just slide it down a little bit so it's easier to represent, let's say we had a y value of 3 here and an x value of 4. So to get the angle, we're looking at the inverse tangent of 3 divided by 4. But what if we had a vector that was going in the other direction? So for example, we'd gone -4 in the x and -3 in the y. Well, the inverse tangent would come out exactly the same as far as the angle is concerned, because we're dividing a negative number by a negative number, and that isn't what we want. So what atan 2 does is make sure it uses the correct quadrant for calculating the angle. So rather than ending up with this angle here for our vector, which would be incorrect, what we end up with instead is the full angle here rotated. And that is all that this line is doing here. We're doing the atan 2, and then we have our y and our x. And then finally, because the result comes back in radians, we're converting it into degrees. So we're just simply getting this angle here. So back inside our code, then that's what our line's doing here. It's simply getting us the angle from one vector to another. We can use this to rotate ourselves to then look at the player. Let's go into the enemy.hpp, and underneath the sprite, let's add ourselves a pointer to the player. We don't have the player defined at all up here, and we're not using it in any special way inside the class definition here, so we can just make a pre-definition of the player here. We don't need to include anything. Then let's add ourselves a set player. So I'll copy set position and call this a player. And then into here, we're going to take a pointer to a player, and this needs to be const. And then let's add ourselves a couple of floats in here so that we can set up the retargeting. So the first one's going to be a retarget timer, and we'll set that to 0. This is going to keep track of how much time has elapsed since the last retarget that we did. And then we'll have a retarget min and a retarget max. And to start off with, let's set this actually quite frequent, I think. We'll do 1 second and maybe 3 seconds. And then finally, last but not least, let's write ourselves a little function called retarget. That should be, I think, pretty much everything we need. So let's drop into the implementation for the enemy. And then below the set position here, we'll add in a definition for setting the player. So the player can be equal to player. Then I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to do the retargeting stuff actually above the update, I think. So we'll put retarget. That doesn't take in any parameters at all. So when we retarget, what we want to do is rotate ourselves then to look at the player. So we'll get our transform.rotation, and we'll set that equal then to angle to target degrees from our transform.position to the player get position. Now we get some red lines here because we don't actually have the definition of the player inside here, do we? I don't think anyway at the top, and we're going to need that, so we'll include our player. Okay, that's better, the red lines have gone away. Now here's another example of something that we could maybe actually put on the transform as well. It's something we'll need to do with other things inside the game later on, and what we're doing here is what's known as a look at. We're taking in a position and another position, and then we're setting a rotation as the angle from one to the other. So let's go to the transform 2D, and below the translate, let's make a new function called look at, taking in a vector 2, which will be the target. And in fact, I'm going to be lazy and take this and make look at. That'll be vector 2, then target, and go back to enemy.cpp and copy this code here. And inside here, what we want to do is set the rotation. So we'll say the rotation is equal to angle to target degrees. That will be then from the current position of the transform to, not the player position, but to the target here. Okay, then we can go back to the enemy CPP. And instead of this, what we can do is put a set of brackets, delete that, and here, look at. I think that's a little bit neater, and we can use that elsewhere as well. Then once we're looking, we want to set our retarget timer. So we'll set our retarget timer to be equal to, and we can get hold then of a random float. That's going to go then from our retarget min to our retarget max. That's all we need to think now for the retargeting everything. I've just seen this on here with the rotation. Let's set that back to 0. So I did that really quickly there. That was in the enemy constructor. I'd left that there from before, the 180 degrees. And now what we need to do is manage the retargeting inside the update. So the first thing we'll do is subtract from the retarget timer our delta time. Then if our retarget timer has gone less than 0, then we're simply going to invoke our retarget function, which will reset the timer and hopefully also rotate us to look at the player. And then finally, let's go to the main.cpp, and on our enemy, somewhere down here, we need to set the player. So we'll grab hold of our enemy dot and set player, and we'll send in then a pointer to the player. So deep breath, that should be absolutely everything we need, I think, inside here to actually have hopefully an enemy moving and then now and again turning and chasing us. So let's run the application. It should be immediately actually running towards us if things are working. If they're not, it'll be going the other way because the rotation was set back to 0, wasn't it? So we'll immediately know, and hey, it's working, it's running towards us, good, and it turned there, and it's turning there. It's turning really frequently. We set it quite frequent, but it is sort of loosely homing in on us, which I think is actually really nice when you've got a lot of them wandering around the map in the game. And as you'll see, we'll have some configuration on these, so we can change the behaviors of different enemies. Just press escape to close that down. Let's go to the enemy.cpp here. Where do we set the speed? Oh, it's in the HPP, isn't it? Let's set this to something a little bit higher. I'm not too sure actually how fast the player's moving. I'll set this to 150. And then the retargeting can be, let's make it 2 seconds to 4 seconds, shall we? Let's press F5 to run that again and see if the enemy is a little bit quicker. Should be able to avoid it though, because it basically goes in a straight line for a few seconds, so we can get out of the way. Let's have a look then, shall we? Well, that was much longer, but we do have a distinctly faster enemy on here. Unfortunately, he's still not turning fast enough to get us, but I'm sure you get the idea anyway. The other thing I notice here, it looks like he's skating over the ground a little bit. We might want to speed the animation up there according to the speed, but we can tune all those things later on. The main thing now is we do actually have some kind of behavior with our enemy. Cool, so I'll press escape to close that down and close down the terminal. I'm going to reset, where are you? The float back to 80, and I think I'll put this also, for now anyway, back to 1 and back to maybe 2 seconds actually, so it's really frequent. And with that done, I think that's a good place to end this particular video. Again, we've made a really good step. We've actually done quite a lot in there, but we've also done a bit of cleaning up, I think, as well, especially with the transform here, with the move forward, translate, and the look at, and also adding ourselves a couple of utility functions, which are going to be helpful for the rest of the app as well. In the next video, what we're going to do is flesh this out a little bit more and actually see if we can generate a swarm of enemies when we press a key. For now though, that's the end of this one. Thanks very much for watching and sticking with it as well. Comments, questions welcome as always on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.